Hi, Dr. William Starsiak here again, and I'm going to use this video to talk to you about some guidelines for maintaining maximal digestive strength. It's a sort of nutritional hygiene instructions. So we want to have our digestion at its strongest in order to fully process the food that we take in. If we don't fully process it, it hangs around and it causes trouble. Leaky gut is one expression of that. Diabetes, heart disease from plaques in the arteries. These are all the results of not fully processing the food we take in. So how do we avoid doing that? How do we avoid building up undigested food? Well, we do that by following some simple guidelines that will help keep our digestion strong. First off, don't overeat. Don't eat till you're so full you couldn't eat anymore. Ideally, you eat about 2/3, to the point of being about 2/3 of being totally full. Second, don't eat if you're not hungry. Or eat something very light if you're not hungry, something like fruit or a soup. Don't eat something heavy like a burger or something containing red meat or gluten or dairy, because that's just not going to digest well if you don't have the hunger there. The hunger is the testament to the waiting strength of the digestive fire, the readiness to digest the food that's going to be delivered. And typically, if we cultivate strong digestion and we have a normal cycle where we're sleeping at nighttime and we're awake during the day, we will be the hungriest right in the middle of the day. That's when our ability to digest will be the strongest. So we should have our biggest meal in the middle of the day. And then at dinner time, we should have our smallest meal, so that by the time we're ready to go to bed, the food has moved out of our stomach and is well on its way already through the intestines. That will help decrease the risk of reflux or aggravating reflux symptoms if they're there, but it's also best with respect to not accumulating undigested food. Because starting around 10 o'clock, our digestive system does some stuff to clean up after the day's work, so to speak. So just like you close your office and that's when you would have someone come through to clean, you don't have someone cleaning when you're in the middle of your work. It's after the work is done. So that's what our body does at that first part of nighttime. So we don't want to eat too much food before, at dinner close to bedtime, so that our digestion is mostly complete by the time the body starts cleaning house. And we don't want to eat too close to bedtime either. Ideally, dinner is, at least the end of dinner is 3 hours from when you lay down to go to bed. 2 hours minimum. There's case studies that show this, along with some other lifestyle interventions, can actually reverse mild cognitive impairment. So, there's another reason to take care of digestive strength. It seems to be associated with cognitive health. And this makes sense given what we know about the microflora and how it produces neurotransmitters that affect our brain and our cognitive health, and also its effects on the lymphatic system. If you have this leaky gut where you're having these food molecules getting into the lymphatic system and creating inflammation, well, it makes sense that that could also affect the brain, because the brain has the lymphatic system as well. Okay, so biggest meal in the middle of the day, only eat when you're hungry, only fill the stomach to 2/3 of the way, and avoid eating too much hard to digest food, especially at dinner time. Eat your harder to digest food in the middle of the day, but be intermittent with it. Don't overdo it. So a substance like gluten has a seasonality to it, where we can digest it better in the fall and the winter. Our bacteria changes, our metabolism increases, and we can process gluten better in those seasons. So if we grow up eating gluten all year round for every meal, at some point it's going to be hanging around. We won't have digested all of it. It'll be hanging around too long. We're going to become sensitive to it, and we're going to begin to have problems with it. And this is very common starting around age 30. When we're younger, our digestive fire is stronger and we can break down gluten. We need the energy that's in it to help with our growth because we're turning cells over so much. But as we get older, we just don't need gluten as much, and it's not worth the investment our digestive system has to put in to digest it. So we should begin to draw back on gluten and eat it more sparingly in the fall and the winter, and have it be better prepared as either a sourdough product or as a sprouted grain. Both of those will begin to pre-digest the gluten. So we still get the nutrients from it, but we don't have to digest it. We're using external processes to digest it. So other hard to digest foods, dairy, especially milk, because of the lactose. So fresh cheeses are generally easier to digest, and it's important that they be grass-fed because of the vascular properties of non-grass-fed dairy is not desirable, whereas grass-fed dairy actually has beneficial effects to the vascular system. Aged cheeses are much harder to digest. Red meat is hard to digest, fried food, processed food, and then simple sugars will impair digestion as well, too many simple sugars. So avoid eating too much hard to digest, especially if you're not hungry. And the next piece is that you want to take things that stimulate digestion. So cooking your food with these spices that stimulate digestion. When your food looks good and it smells good, that actually begins the process of digestion. Enzymes begin to be secreted, gastric acid begins to be created. So having your food be tasty and appealing is part of digestion. So using these aromatic herbs and spices are already beneficial before you even eat the food. But then these herbs and spices like turmeric, coriander, cumin, fennel, ginger, black pepper, fenugreek, ajuan, hing, and then all of the common European spices, rosemary, thyme, oregano, basil, garlic, these all have a role in stimulating digestion. So using those liberally in your cooking is very important. So if you follow these basic guidelines, if you weren't doing them before and you begin doing them, what you'll notice is that you have more energy, you can sleep better, frequently headaches will decrease, digestive issues will decrease, your mood will improve. So it's well worth the effort to make these changes. If you have any questions about this, contact me. You can find all my info at my website, www.drstarsik.com. Please check out my other videos and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. Have a good one.